All the please.
About 50 years.
Everybody take the seat, please.
About 50 years.
Roll call.
Dominic, Johnson, Williams, Lynn, Bowman, Baker, Lynch, Escaday, Thibodeau, Cox, Smith, and Hutchinson. We have a quorum, Mr. President.
All right, the invocation will be by Mr. Escaday, pledged by Ms. Lynch.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us together here today. We ask that you watch over the work we do. Help us do it with wisdom and guidance. We ask your special blessings on all the men and women in the armed forces who serve us, protect us. We also ask your special blessing on our colleague, Commissioner Bowman, at this time. We thank you for all the blessings that you've bestowed upon us and ask that you enable us to continue to be worthy of them. We ask this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Turn and face the flag and repeat the pledge in unison.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to be in uniform. People get my uniform.
Do you have any agenda additions? See any citizens who wish to address the commission must fill out a comment card and forward it to the president or to the clerk of the commission. Comments by any citizen will be limited to 3 minutes. We have some visitors today. First visitor is Miss Dara Sanders with the, she's the master plan administrator for the MPC.
Good afternoon. We had some technical difficulties earlier, so I think that we're getting my presentation up. But I can go ahead and get started while these gentlemen work on the presentation a bit. I presented to the Economic Development Committee, the Parish Economic Development Committee, last Monday I believe it was last Monday.
We'd like to have that short form that you gave at the introductional meeting.
You want the abbreviated one?
Right.
Okay. Now that I've shown that I can do it, I guess everyone expects it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm the master plan administrator. My responsibility is to coordinate master plan implementation projects. The master plan recommends a series of implementation steps, and we divide those recommendations by short-term strategies, medium-term strategies, and long-term strategies. We have 245 short-term strategies. The Unified Development Code and fee study are identified as high-priority short-term strategies. The majority of our strategies cannot be achieved until those two projects have been funded and are implemented. I do believe I gave you all a handout just outlining what those recommendations are. Okay, so here you can see that more than half of those short-term strategies and actions are dependent upon the Unified Development Code and fee study. So what is that Unified Development Code? It's a comprehensive document that includes all of our regulations in one place, and that would be for parish regulations within the Shreveport-Caddo planning area, as well as the city regulations. They address zoning, division of land, permitting, annexation policies. I think this one got the attention of the Economic Development Committee. You know, right now, the city of Shreveport does not have any annexation policies. I mean, you just submit a request for annexation, and that continues to carve away at the parish property, but it also it continues to expand the property within the city limits and our maintenance responsibilities as well. So why do we need a Unified Development Code? It codifies the vision and recommendations of our master plan. It provides consistency in the application of our regulations, clarity in our organization and expression, and predictability for our property owners, neighbors, and developers in the city. So we're clearly outlining our expectations for doing business in Shreveport, Caddo. What do we have now? This is just my brief analysis of our existing codes for both the parish and the city. I jokingly said to the committee that I don't have anything nice to say about these regulations. I don't. They are confusing, they're outdated, they are contradictory in some cases. So I anticipate that when we move forward with the Unified Development Code, the majority of our regulations are just going to be thrown out and we're going to be starting from scratch. What are we missing? We're missing regulations that protect our neighborhoods. We're missing regulations that protect our sensitive natural environments. And we're missing regulations that promote the goals and the vision outlined by our citizens and our elected officials in our master plan. This is an example that I gave to the Economic Development Committee. I'll just briefly go over it. This is just one zoning district that can be applied throughout the planning area. When you print it out, it's 10 pages long. I managed to fit it on 2 slides. It has some outdated uses. It has apothecary, different furrier, a variety of different uses that we really don't have in modern society. It's very confusing. So if I were a property owner and I went and my property was zoned B1 and I went to this zoning district, it would be very confusing for me, a planner who has experience in zoning regulations, to understand what is allowed and what isn't allowed on this piece of property, let alone just the average citizen. This is what a similar zoning district looks like in another city. It fits on less than 1 page. It's very well organized. It gives me references to other sections of the Unified Development Code. So it's really user-friendly. I wouldn't need someone in the planning department to walk me through the process of understanding what's going on. It also, this Unified Development Code categorizes uses. So it said limited business was one of the uses allowed in that zoning district. Well, what is limited business? So I go to that use unit in the same Unified Development Code. It's all in the same binder. And it tells me what kind of businesses I can have and what those restrictions are. And then it also references a development chapter where all of the different development standards, design regulations are located. It has streets and sidewalk requirements. Am I going to have to improve the street adjacent to my property? What are my parking requirements? What kind of sign can I have? Do I have to plant trees? Do I have to save trees? So everything is listed out, and I clearly understand what is expected of me when I develop or redevelop this piece of property. Shreveport Caddo doesn't have that right now. Do our neighbors have a Unified Development Code? These are not all of the cities and parishes in Louisiana that have Unified Development Codes. There are many others. But you'll see in this list that we are the largest city in the state that does not have a Unified Development Code. So what's the process? It's a 3-phase process. The consultant meets with the city and parish staff, the city and parish governments, the citizens, the business owners, the stakeholders. They look at what we have, what we don't have, what we need. And then they report back on that. They identify solutions based on what they heard, report back to the city and parish governments, staff, the neighborhoods, the stakeholders. They get feedback on what everyone feels is appropriate, what isn't appropriate. They take that feedback to their offices and develop the draft. All of those new policies, procedures, regulations should be compliant with state and federal law. That would be the responsibility of the consultant as well. Then they report back to the city and parish government, stakeholders, citizens for review, comment, and approval. So just to recap, it's a high priority identified by our master plan, codifies our vision and our recommendations and our goals, clearly outlines our expectations of doing business and developing property in our community. So we also have the fee study, which is a recommendation by the master plan. The fee study would review the fee structure in both the city and the parish. Do those fees further achieve our goals and recommendations of the master plan? Well, the consultants already looked at that. They looked at our fee structure. They said, no, your fees are not going to help you achieve the recommendations of the master plan. So you need to explore or hire a consultant for a more comprehensive fee study. Would look at the rational nexus of the cost of doing business in Shreveport, Caddo. One thing that we'll see come from that fee study is a fee study allocation plan. And it would help to inform elected officials on raising fees, lowering fees, waiving fees. We'll also see a recommendation for impact fees, which is one of the recommendations of our master plan. Those impact fees are a one-time fee imposed on new development to reflect that new development's fair share of providing additional services. Those additional services are roads, water service, sewer service, parks, emergency response, solid waste. What are the benefits of impact fees? I think the most significant benefit is that they remove some of the burden of capital expenses from our general fund. They can also be structured to incentivize development and redevelopment in some of our neglected neighborhoods and our abandoned neighborhoods, so we can regain control over our growth and work toward reinvestment in some of our older neighborhoods. So again, do our neighbors have impact fees? Yes, they do. This is not a new concept in Louisiana, and it's certainly not a new concept in the rest of the country. I've provided some other cities who do have impact fees, but it's an interesting statistic here. 60% of all cities with over 25,000 residents use impact fees. 40% of all metropolitan counties use some sort of impact fee. So other communities are seeing the benefits of structuring fees, using impact fees, and they're working. That approach is working in other communities. So that was a lot faster than the Economic Development Committee, but a little bit longer than the Intergovernmental Conference, so I think we still made it out. Okay. This is my contact information. In case you have any questions, or should the public have any questions, the Metropolitan Planning Commission issued 2 resolutions, one to the Shreveport City Council and one to the Caddo Parish Commission, requesting initial funding, not full funding, for the Unified Development Code and fee study. This would allow staff to set up an account, begin the RFQ, RFP processes, and also try to obtain some grant funding to offset the cost of these projects from both Parish Commission and the City of Shreveport. So I think, we have tried to obtain some grant funding to date. We've not been successful because right now these are just discussion points. And until we get the funding and the capital improvements account set up, we're not going to get any significant or serious support from either the federal government or local nonprofits in funding these projects.
All right, before you leave, I think we probably have a couple of questions. Could you please put the screen back where I can see Speak, people who want to speak. All right, I've got Ms. Lynch.
Yes, Dara, thank you. Can you give us a copy of your presentation that you just gave?
Absolutely. I'll email it out to all of the
Okay,
commissioners.
thank you. When did you all send the resolution to the city council?
The resolution was forwarded to the city council week before last, prior to their deadline for city council agenda. They introduced an ordinance at their meeting last week to be up for consideration at their next meeting next Monday and Tuesday, transferring $50,000 from their economic development account to a special account for the Metropolitan Planning Commission.
Okay. So they're gonna, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Mr. Escobar.
No, the initial funding that the city's considering you're asking us for, is that for both impact study fee and the Unified Development Code, or just the Unified Development?
It's for both projects.
And you're going to do them simultaneously?
Staff would prefer to do them together, because the fee study, like I said, will not only look at the fees and the cost of development in Shreveport Caddo, it will also recommend tiered impact fees. And in order to achieve some of the redirection of redevelopment toward our inner city, it's going to be very important to couple the incentives of tiered impact fees with some of the incentivized zoning and development regulations that we anticipate with the Unified Development Code.
And you'll put this out for bid, this work?
Yes, sir.
What type of firms do that work? I mean, it's like Goody Clancy, who did the master plan, did they do that type of work?
Goody Clancy, I believe, has the staff to lead a Unified Development Code project. They would likely, similar to their approach with the master plan, they would likely hire local firms should they be chosen. I'm not saying that they would even apply for or submit a proposal for that project. There are very many local Louisiana planning agencies that do have that capability as well. The fee study would actually, Tischler Bice participated in the master plan, on the master plan project team. They are very experienced in conducting fee studies and reporting back with recommendations. In fact, they are the firm that took the initial look at our fee structure and made the recommendation for not only the fee study, but for tiered impact fees.
I believe, I'll probably speak for most of us when I say, Caddo first if possible. You keep it home, keep it close. My final question is, it seems to me that so much information was gleaned in the master plan study, not just from businesses and governments, from neighborhood associations and neighborhood groups, and they did a lot of research on that. And it seems to me, unless I'm mistaken, we already have a profile in great detail of what the individuals in these neighborhoods want to see their neighborhoods become. So it seems the master plan itself already offers a whole lot of the information that would need to be gathered for the Unified Development Code, does it not?
I agree with that. And that's why our estimated project cost is so much lower than other Unified Development Code projects that I've researched for communities similar to Shreveport.
Okay, so they're not going to, we're not entertaining the possibility of hiring somebody who's going to come in here and start from square one. They're going to come in here knowing they're going to make use of the information that we've already bought, paid for, and is relatively current, and then, of course, subsidize that with their own research. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think most of the questions I wanted to ask, distinguished Commissioner Escudé asked. One of the questions I want to know, what impact did it have on increasing occupational license and permits once you had a unified code? Did you see an increase in people wanting to increase in development in the entire parish and cities? And I mean, you may can't answer this one, but are the fees the same for a occupational license, residential and a commercial structure?
Most communities structure their fees to differentiate between not only single-family and multifamily, but residential and non-residential. Some communities even go further and structure their fees by single-family size, multifamily size, institutional, and then non-residential by size as well. So a larger non-residential, let's say a large chain retail business, would likely pay a higher fee than a smaller retail business.
But in Shreveport, in Caddo, are our fees the same as residential and multi-dwelling?
I would have to take a look at
Won't you
our
research that?
different...
If it is, there's a big difference between a residential structure and a multi-dwelling structure. It seems like we
Absolutely
need to
right.
increase our fees on people that are building larger facilities.
Right.
Instead of the same as someone building residential. It's unfair.
There's a different impact.
Way different impact. But also the fees should differentiate between the two.
Reflect that
But
impact.
right now, I don't think it does, and that's something we need to work on.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, Ms. Sanders, it seems like there's been a lot of research done so far to see what type of placement that Caddo and Shreveport falls into, comparable to other counties or parishes in the state, in the United States. So with all this research, what are we looking for, or what are you expecting out of a study from somebody else coming in and doing it?
Well, a study would analyze the cost, the true cost of new development, expanding our city limits for the future on both the side of the parish and the city. So a new subdivision goes in, expands the city limits for Shreveport, Louisiana. We have new water infrastructure, new sewer infrastructure, new roads, additional trash service, additional emergency service. We have distance from parks, so maybe we'll see a new park popping up in an emerging neighborhood. All of those, while the developer now pays for the water and sewer and streets to be installed, the city or the parish then have to maintain that in the future. What is the cost of maintaining that in the future? That's what the fee study will produce.
Okay, but I guess with the research that's already been done, you kind of see where other cities and counties and parishes fall that have that particular fee. So, I mean, are we looking for something magical to come from the study, or we can't do that ourselves because we're already researching it? So why incur the additional expense of a study?
That's a good question. We've heard that question a lot. The courts have ruled that you have to identify the rational nexus, meaning it can't be a number that we've borrowed from another community. It has to be a number following very specific approach and analysis. Once we reach that number, that number is legally enforceable in our community.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Baker?
Oh, yes, I just wanted to remind my colleagues, inform my colleagues that I have an ordinance on the agenda today to be introduced, ordinance number 5228, amending the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $50,000 to implement this Unified Development Code. So I just wanted to remind you there. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Mr. Epperson?
My question is answered.
Mr. Smith?
Well, as most of you know, I sat on the Metropolitan Planning Commission for 10 years, so I don't know how long I sat in here sometimes in this chamber for late in the afternoon going over things and problems that could easily have been solved had we had the Unified Development Code. From my experience, it's extremely important for us in this area. We're growing fast, we're going to grow faster, and to me it's a must and it's a given. Thank you, sir.
All right, I have a couple comments. What's the total cost of the study for the code itself?
Well, staff has an estimated expectation for the cost of the Unified Development Code, and that is $450,000. That is building on the information that has already been obtained in the master plan process. That is utilizing a lot of in-house staff and resources in terms of printing, in terms of staff facilitating public input and public meetings. The cost of the fee study, we have received a formal cost estimate from a firm who does this kind of work throughout the nation. That fee study estimate is $135,000, and that is for the entire Shreveport-Caddo area, planning
All right,
area.
so what you're asking for now is $100,000 to begin the study, but neither the council nor the commission has actually voted on having a code itself. We haven't actually voted on that. Are we not going to vote on that until after the study's done?
The fee study, or just both projects in general?
Tell me again what the $100,000 is going to do. What's
The
that for?
$100,000 will set up a capital improvement account. That means that we will have the funding to open up the projects, have official projects, send out a request for qualifications and a request for proposals. We'll also have a financial commitment from both governmental bodies, which will allow staff to be more successful in obtaining grant funding to offset the cost of those two projects. So we can go through the selection process, sign a contract, understand the full real cost, not the estimated cost of both projects, and then move forward accordingly.
So if I understand it correctly, in 2 weeks we will be voting on whether or not to help fund the initial cost, not necessarily to fund the whole thing. Nobody's voted on that yet.
That's correct.
Plus we don't know if there's going to be any grant money available. The reason I asked that is because in your presentation, I don't remember you saying anything about the total cost. Plus, I think it was determined that the cost would be broken down by 80% for the city, 20% for the parish. And in the initial $100,000, it's being asked that we put up 50% and the city put up 50%. And if I'm allowed to do it today, if not, I'll do it at a later time. On the ordinance, I'd like to change it where those percentages start with the initial study. I want to get involved in a study with the city or anyone else and pay more than we're going to pay for the entire project. So even with the $100,000, I would prefer to see it at the very beginning that the city pay 80% and we put up 20%. So that's going to be what I'm going to amend that ordinance to whenever it's appropriate. So I want to say that publicly.
Chairman Rocky has entered the building. Everybody stand. Under God, I took care of that for you.
Oh, that's sweet.
Good to see you here.
Thank you.
All right, we have no other speakers. Thank you for the presentation. Our next speaker is, our next visitor is Ms. Liz Swain.
David had a question.
Oh, David, I didn't have you on there.
Can you go over your last point again? We kind of got legacy.
Oh, okay.
You kind of like cut off.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that when the time is appropriate, whether that be today or when we actually, before we vote, I'm going to recommend, maybe my amendment will be that we don't put up 50,000 of the 100,000. we put up 20,000 and let the city put up their 80, because that's the percentage of cost that we are supposed to take care of throughout this process, and I don't see any reason to go 50-50 right now.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, in answer to your question, the easiest time to make that amendment would be Thursday, and we'll have something in writing for you.
Fine.
That way you can amend it on introduction.
All right, thank you. Mr. Escobar?
Mr. Grubb, what exactly are what we were proposing to do today from a legal standpoint for the draft? Just fund the amount?
As I appreciate, to appropriate funds sufficient to at least to express the intention of the commission to move forward to fund the whole project, but the requested amount, whether it be $50,000 or reduced according to Mr. Thibodeau's proposed amendment, as I think we all heard, is not sufficient to pay our share of the whole study.
Or we'd be just paying more up front than of our portion, basically.
Yes, right.
Then I share Thibodeau Commissioner's concern as well. I think maybe, I don't know what the process is and what communication's been done with the city, but perhaps we might need to consider what needs to be determined is if in fact we want to do this and we believe it's a good idea, and then and the city as well, that we're committed to developing the code and doing the study. And once we have those commitments by resolution, and we're committed to fund it now, then it seems to me the mechanism for funding comes later. I agree with Commissioner Thibodeau. I don't want to get married, and then find out, my spouse doesn't have the dowry that was promised, So I want to see that commitment. And I think it's important that we do that. I'm not sure how to go about it. I am very much, just want to go on record and say I'm in favor of doing this, because really what we have now, and I'm not knocking anybody, but Dara has come here in several months and showed us just really how outdated the things that we do and how we do business really are. And we refer to the MPC as the Metropolitan Planning Commission, but really they're nothing but the Metropolitan Zoning Commission. They haven't done any planning in years. They really don't do any planning. We have no planning mechanism. So in the long term, for the progress and future growth of this city, I think it's a necessity. But that being said, I just think, I'm like Commissioner Thibodeau, if I believe that we will sign on to this and believe it's a good thing to do, we just need to see a commitment from the city, because we don't want to get involved into something where they can't fund their end of it year after year. And I don't know what their situation is, but maybe we're a little premature on the whole thing. Thank you. Ms. Bites?
Dara, where is the city, or have they actually committed their $50,000, or they just?
The city council has introduced an ordinance to transfer $50,000 from their economic development account to a special account for the MPC. So the council did vote to forward that resolution to the next agenda for consideration. They have not voted on it officially to approve or deny. Discussion will occur on Tuesday of next week.
Well, my only concern, and I understand where Commissioner Thibodeau is, but my concern is that I hope that if the amendment that he wants to do pass, that it doesn't hinder the work that needs to be done. And also, I mean, if we pay the $50,000 now, or if we even just pay the $20,000, that's only our 20%, we're going to still have to pay the $30,000 in the long run. So, I mean, pay it on the front end or subtract it from the back end. So I just don't want us to do an amendment that will hinder the progress of the Unified Development Code being developed. So that's why I'm asking if we, go ahead and support going ahead and passing it to go ahead and do our $50,000 part that you're asking for, but make sure that we look at and we subtract this from what the balance that we owe as far as the other paying the 20%. So that's
May I comment on my
support that.
My reasoning for the one-for-one proposal. The reason that I proposed $50,000 from the city and $50,000 from the parish was because I feel that it's not my place to propose a percentage of cost sharing. The 80-20 percentage that Commissioner Thibodeau refers to as our operational cost, our typical operational funding. And that's something that the parish should consider. But also consider that within our planning area, 60% of our land area is within the city limits and 40% is within the parish jurisdiction. So that's something you should also consider when pursuing the Unified Development Code. 40% of our regulations in the Unified Development Code are going to have to be specific to parish. We don't want to be applying city regulations in the parish property. They're two different environments, and therefore they should be treated differently in terms of regulation. But the 1-for-1 was because it is not my place to set out your cost sharing for you. It was just a proposal for equal commitment for initial funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Mr. Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, Mr. Williams. Mr. Lynn has not spoken yet. I'll come back to you.
I was going to save this until we did the vote on this, but I'll go ahead and bring it up now. First off, I certainly believe that we should have a unified code, fee structures, and impact fees. And I think that that is reflective on a vote that this parish board already has taken on January the 8th of 2009. Our last Monday work session, I gave you all the minutes from that meeting, and when we paid for the master plan, we only had 2 requests from that master plan. Now you can say tomato, tomato, potato, potato. The word doesn't say fee structure and impact fees. However, it certainly insinuates the exact same thing. And we asked for that in the master plan, and we paid 60-40, or we paid 40 of the total percentage in the master plan. And we also asked for a extended study of I-49 North. And I've yet to see what we've gotten for what we've already asked for and what we've already paid for. I'm very familiar that in government, why pay for something once that you can pay twice or even 3 times for? And I'm not against paying the MPC to do the same job the first time that we've already paid them to do in 2009, and I will vote in favor of this. However, I'm certainly not going to vote that we pay 50-50 or even 40-60, and I think that it should be 20-80, since we're going to be paying for the same thing that we've already asked them to do and we've already paid them to do. That's all.
Mr. Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to disagree with my colleagues on this uniform code, because as we sit back and rest on our morals and part of our conventional leadership, other businesses are going to Bossier, they're going to Stonewall, they're going to Mansfield, they're going all over this state because of our outdated ordinances with our codes. In order to get in the game, we got to have ordinances and codes that are in the 21st century. We cannot delay or deny the progress that's been made. In order for us to reach the impact and benefit from a worthwhile investment, we're going to mess out and lose out on millions and millions and millions of dollars that will be coming to our community. We need to be proactive when it comes to investing in Shreveport and Caddo, especially North Shreveport. That's where most of the development will be going. And in my neighborhood, there's a new initiative called the Choice Initiative for housing. And when we get up and we say we need to be fair in terms of what the formula is for what if I was sharing, what if they're sharing, I think it should be 60-40. Because most people move in the rural area because they don't want to be controlled by the city ordinance. And I don't think they're trying to do that. If you want to move in the country, you want to do the things you do in the country, you should have the respect and dignity to do the things in the country. But we need some unification. We need a one-stop shop where you can do business. That's why Bossier is growing by leaps and bounds because of the laws that we have here. And now it's time for a change of direction. The thing is, do you want to go forward or do you want to stay in the past? $50,000 is not going to break us. And I know we need to be good stewards and be conservative in our spending habits. This is a worthwhile investment that's long overdue. And I think it's time that we invest with smart, we do intelligent, we be methodical in our investment, how we spend the taxpayers' money, which has made a very diverse community. And I would like for us not to delay this any longer or deny it, but to move forward and show a spirit of leadership. We are elected just like the city of Shreveport. We shouldn't wait on the city to lead every time. Why are we elected? Why did they elect us? To see what other people are going to do? There's leadership and there's followership. Are you going to be a leader or are you going to be a follower? I'm asking my colleagues, Democrats and Republicans, disagree or did not disagree, to support this. And when the time comes to decide what the percentage is, we can always bag that out when that time comes. But to deny what we're about to do here, we are supposed to be progressive in Caddo Parish. We're supposed to have what I like to say a new swagger up here. And it's time for us to act like we're trying to be a difference makers in North Louisiana. I don't want to see other parishes, and other counties, and other cities, businesses that should be here because of the codes, taking their business other places, because the incentive is their tax dollar would be back in our coffer. We have an increase in tax there, property taxes, commercial taxes, sales taxes, people getting jobs. That's what it's about. So I hope that we don't play politics and delay this any longer, and that you guys, ladies and gentlemen, would support this in this entirety. And the people in my district showing me some uniform codes in the poor areas. We need that in the Lakeside Allendale and the Cherokee Park. My district's ready from North Highland to Shreve Island, and incorporates a diverse community. And it's time for us to act like a new city of the South. And I hope we support this in its entirety. Thank you.
Mr. Cox? You know, over the years, we've tried to work with the city on projects, and I would say less than 50% of the time, we ended up taking the ball and doing it ourselves on certain issues. I agree with the 20%. If that comes back up, let me explain to you why. We've never, as a body, had a problem coming back and amending to finish paying for something. And I would rather say, wait, see what the city's going to do, and if they say, well, they've got the money allocated, then we come back and do the rest of ours. That's no big deal. The money is not the issue. It's the timing of this proposition. So one way or the other, this should get done for the benefit of Caddo Parish. The city, in my opinion, will always be the hang-up. We always have to wait on them, and in something like this, we'll probably be waiting on them another month. And I'd be willing to lay $1 to a donut.
$1 to a donut? I never heard of that.
So I would like to back up Mr. Thibodeau's plan as far as the 80-20 and go from there and see what the city does, and until they verify what they're going to do, then if they say, yeah, we can get it done, then we can come back and amend ours. That's plain and simple.
And chocolate.
We don't hold up anybody. But this is a good plan. It needs to be done. It shows that we are, as Mr. Williams said, open for business, and we are willing to grow. But I would say in the last 9 years, the parish has grown a lot compared to the city, and that's because we've done it the right way, and we didn't have to go back and redo it. So, thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm apparently the last one on the board. Ms. Sanders, do you know if Bossier has a UDC?
Yeah. Bossier does have a unified
They do?
development code. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm not asking anybody to delay this at all. In fact, I'll make the motion to move it to Thursday. My problem is when you go into partnership with someone and you agree, of which there is no written agreement at all. All this is verbal. and it was the MPC, in fact, in the first presentation that you made to the Economic Development Committee is when I asked, I said, when you told us you wanted 50-50, I said, well, what happened to the percentage that we use for the master plan? You said, well, that will be the same afterwards. So I'm not the one that decided the 80-20. Evidently, that was already decided. All I'm saying is the first thing you do when you go into business with somebody, you don't do something different than you agreed to do up front, because that's the worst thing you can do. And, you know, whether it was the city or anybody else, I don't want anybody owing us money that either can't pay it, doesn't want to pay it, or is going to take all day to pay it. Because once again, none of this is writing. Neither the city council nor the commission has taken a vote on whether or not we were going to spend the additional $500,000 or about $400,000 to complete these studies. So all I'm saying is we have a partner, it's the city. The agreement was 80%, 20% for the cost. So I'm saying from the get-go, let's do 80-20. That's all I'm saying. I don't intend to delay this at all. We need to move it to Thursday. I agree. To me, it's just how it's going to be paid for, and I just think we need to start off just as we have agreed to verbally. And I also believe that whatever we get out of this code will primarily benefit the city, although in the future some of what happens in the code will benefit the parish. But what we're really looking at right now is the city. We're not looking at a code for the parish. Decisions made by the city when they take in property from their parish may very well make a difference. But what we're looking at right now is something for the city, not for the parish. So that's why I'd like to just be sure we start off with the right percentages up front, and we're all in agreement that that's what we want to do. Ms. Lynch.
Let me ask you, the 80-20, is that in writing somewhere?
That's what I said. None of this is in writing anywhere. That's just a number that I heard from the MPC in the first presentation that was made at the Economic Development meeting.
Okay, so that's
So everything is verbal right now. There's not a thing in writing.
So it's not a set percentage?
No, it was just a verbal, just an answer to a question that I had.
Thank you.
I have no other speakers. I believe we can go to our next visitor now. You still here, Ms. Slade? Thank you, Dara.
Thank you, everyone. Joyce, it is so good to see you. Thank you all for allowing me to come before you today. And even though I'm not here on this topic, the Downtown Development Authority is very supportive of the UDC, extremely supportive. The zoning in downtown is a hot mess. And we are working on that to the exclusion of other things, and we know that it impacts economic development in a big, big way. So however we can assist in pushing the UDC through, we would like to assist. I am here today, actually, sort of out of order. Dr. Ron Heesen is going to be coming up in a few moments to talk about some of the plans that he has for the downtown branch of Shreve Memorial Library. And certainly the Downtown Development Authority is very interested and very concerned about what is happening at Shreve Memorial Library, but in a good way. You know, the Caddo Parish Commission has played a large role in some of the development going on downtown, some of the things that are making downtown a more positive and exciting place to be. For one, Cohabitat, the co-working space. You know, it's bringing that creative class to downtown. It's creating a new digital hub in our downtown. It's making our downtown, again, a more vibrant place. We're seeing economic development taking place to an extent that we have not seen in a number of years prior to now. And all of that works together. This co-working group that is just so young and vibrant and energetic is working on these digital technologies of the future, and we've got private developers who are coming in who are putting private money into buildings to make this a digital hub so that we're not going to give anything away to Cyber Command in Bossier City. While we wish them the best of luck, we want for Caddo Parish and Shreveport to be an epicenter of that as well. So some of the things that Dr. Reason will be talking to you about today for his plans for, I believe, the 4th floor of the Shreve Memorial Library, this content lab plays absolutely into the things that we see downtown becoming, that we see downtown being. We're going to have additional residential coming online in October downtown, with more being built. Southern University School of Nursing, eventually at some point the Louisiana School of Law, again Shreveport Common that you're playing such a huge role in. And the library is going to be that epicenter, that place where people can play and can work. So having the opportunity that Dr. Heesen is going to be talking about at our downtown library, again, fits in with all that we see our downtown becoming. We believe that the library will continue to be a strong partner to downtown. We're working with Dr. Heesen on some promotions and some projects. We think, again, Commissioner Williams, for your area of downtown will be very, very positive for our downtown. It's going to bring more people to the library, more people to downtown, put more of a positive focus on this area. So I just wanted to come up to express my appreciation and certainly approval of some of the things that he's going to be talking about, and then ask you, the commission members, if you will, to just make sure that these things that you hear about today do indeed happen, because we'll be coming back to you to make sure that, that the things that we're told today and the plans that are put on the table are plans that do take place for the betterment of our downtown. So again, thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you on all types of economic development. Any questions at all?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Since you are in support of the UDC, what part of the study would the DDA care to pay for?
Absolutely. We've actually talked about this before.
I'm sorry?
We have talked about this before internally. We've talked about participating in a rewrite of the B4, which is the downtown zoning, because we believe that it is very important, not only to downtown, but to the city and parish as a whole. So we would entertain that.
So that may be a grant right there, Darrell.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about that.
I was thinking that question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was thinking that question.
That's probably why I thought of it. All right, administration report.
Yes, sir. President Thibodeau, Commissioners, good afternoon. We have Dr. Heesen coming next. Dr. Heesen. We have Commissioner Matthew Lynn actually request information on the fourth floor development and the use of the new space and the new facility that's being proposed, the renovation, and how the conference room will be used.
Telling me to go.
Dr. Heesen, would you come up there?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Bring this up a second.
Here, until I bring the letter down for Kim to sign out for the Veterans Weekend. I'm going to go up.
Mr. President, while he does that, can I make a brief acknowledgement, please?
Sure.
I see Joyce's handsome son out in the audience. You would stand up, let everybody see you. This is Joyce's pride and joy. Joyce's son. And her best friend, too. And I also want to acknowledge the wife, gorgeous wife, pretty wife, fine wife of the chairman of the Shreveport City Council, Sam Jenkins, Ms. Cynthia Hightower Jenkins. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Maybe she's just his husband. Maybe she's just his husband.
Oh.
Gentlemen, we've had some questions about what's going to happen at the fourth floor, and let me preface this by saying, ladies too, this is not just, these are plans that were established by our planning commission that was approved by the library board, but the actual achievement of these is still subject to board approval, to budgeting, etc. So with that in mind, we'd like to start the presentation about why libraries are moving in this direction. You know, I think that I have some newsletters here for you. I don't know if you've received these.
People today ask why libraries, but the library, the public library is the most uniquely American institution in the country. We predate paid firefighters, paid police officers. Sheriffs originated in England and other countries. So all of our institutions, including elected bodies, were predated in other areas, except for public libraries. That was our American institution. Benjamin Franklin established the first one with the Leather Apron Club in 1731. President Madison wrote, "A popular government without popular information or the means of acquiring it is but a prologue to a farce or a tragedy, or perhaps both. Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and a people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives." But why today? We've got the internet, right? I want you to imagine this dump truck that you see right there pulling up loaded with pea gravel into your driveway. You're standing at your front window and you see the front end of that truck lift and all that pea gravel coming out. So what do? You rush out and say, "Hey, wait, why are you unloading all this gravel in my driveway?" And the driver jumps down and says, "Well, it's all because somebody in this location ordered a diamond. Understand, there's an anniversary or something going, and there's a diamond in here. Well, are you going to spend all your time going through that whole load of pea gravel looking for a little tiny diamond like maybe this one? I mean, what's that, a 50th of a carat or something? Are you going to spend all your time looking for that? Probably not. Now, if it's a Hope diamond, you're going to post guards all the way around that stack of gravel and wait for people to come in and say, okay, I'm going to go through every piece of that till I find that Hope diamond. Well, the internet, folks, is just like that dump truck. If you would go online to Google and do a search for George Washington, say someone in your family had to do a paper, this is what you're going to see. The very first thing, you have 68,600,000 results in 0.15 seconds. We're busy people today. You're the busiest in the community. You're leading this community with your hearts. What's the first thing listed there? Wikipedia. We know Wikipedia used to be up to 62% accurate. It's all the way up to 80 now. So now I'm going to introduce my version of humor here. We have a little bit of a pie chart just to see how this is. Well, anyway, we missed the pie chart. Well, there are reasons that libraries still thrive. That's because librarians are knowledge navigators. Libraries provide the third place, and libraries change lives. I invite you to talk to any librarian you know in any one of your branch libraries, and they'll tell you stories of how people have come into those libraries and changed lives. We have been here since 1923, proud to carry on that American tradition of the free public library. We offer the full range of library services and products, including reference help. Our reference librarians have master's degrees in knowledge navigation to help you with 68,600,000 hits. Which one of those are relevant to you? We have professional tutors online every day, actually from 2 until 10 p.m., to help kids who get stuck in their homework and need a tutor, and it's free. We have all the scope of library materials that you think of any library having. We have books on CD, DVDs, downloadables, all of those things. I had a little longer presentation. I need to cut this down a little bit. So, and here's one of the questions that Mr. Lynn had was, what kind of programs do you have at the library? We have story times for toddlers and preschoolers, summer reading club for school-age kids. We've got book discussion groups in person, online for adults and people of all ages. And we also have Meet the Author sessions, and we've had Celebrate Education. We've been a part of that since it first started. Mr. Lynn, I'm going to present you with this book. I'd ask you to return it when you're finished, but this is a list of the programs that we have presented at Shreve Memorial Library over the course of the last 18 months. There's everyone in here from each branch, and you'll see some statistics here on those programs in a minute. In our library program since August of 2010, we've had 5,668 programs for 111,640 citizens at our 21 locations. Citizens also come in to use our meeting rooms. We have 9,293 bookings per year. This year we're on target for 9,802 if we keep on with the current statistics. We turn away an estimated 287 groups per month system-wide. Now, I know that you as commissioners for the parish all recognize that we have 9 part-time libraries throughout the parish. Here's our long, narrow parish. We have Belcher. We have Blanchard, Gillum, Higginbotham Bryson and Greenwood, Austin, Means, Mooringsport, Whale City, and Odessa. Those are pretty small facilities, folks, and yet we still have programs in a lot of those facilities for the people in those towns. Commissioner Dominic can address some of those. I think he's been to some of the programs. In any case, but we also have neighborhood libraries inside the city of Shreveport. And of course, we are the only, I'm proud of this, this is not my doing, this is the Board of Control that did this. We have more inner city libraries than more per neighborhood than any other community in the country. Let's see, I have a Cedar Grove Line Avenue, this is David Raines. We have Hollywood Union Avenue, Moortown, North Caddo, North Shreveport, Wallette, and West Shreveport. We also have regional libraries. We have the Broadmoor branch, I think in your neighborhood, Commissioner. I think you were instrumental in helping us get that, were you not, sir? And Hamilton, South Caddo. And of course the main library downtown, which is where we're talking about today. Our mission is defined by the board as to help the residents of Caddo Parish achieve their full potential. What does that mean? I mean, if you have, I know a young lady who's an attorney, and she served on our planning commission and decided that she was in the wrong field, that she really wanted to be in libraries. And she's going back to get a master's degree in library science so she can be a librarian rather than an attorney. Attorneys pay a lot more. I mean, you can make a lot more money as an attorney, right, Charles?
It depends.
That's him. He's a commissioner. Maybe something wrong.
Commissioner Dominic? Yeah. So in any case, but it's a matter of discovering one's passion. What is one passionate about? And that's where libraries come in, is helping introduce people to what their passion might be. I have a friend who he said, I want to play guitar, and his dad was so excited, went out and bought him a Gibson guitar. Well, the kid took, back when we were teenagers, took 15 lessons and said, I hurts my hand, I don't want to do that anymore, dude. So let's let them get a taste of this at their public library. Our planning commission, which was very, I think, well put together, 15 people, our board of control and our staff agreed we're going to focus on 8 service responses. First of all, stimulate imagination, whether it's reading in hard copy, a Nook, a Kindle, reading on your iPad or your other tablet device, listening, or actually viewing, I think, viewing's next. We had to bring in, of course, a movie about a librarian here. Librarian, The Quest for the Spear. Listening for pleasure, all of these things, because they've shown that when you activate your imagination and the human mind, it inspires people to do more. So that's one of our top goals. We want to satisfy people's curiosity and their lifelong learning, whether they're preschoolers, whether they're teenagers on a bookmobile, or whether they're adults who are learning to use computers for the first time and connecting with friends on Facebook or whatever way they do it, or coming in just to use media from the library. Whatever people choose, that's what we're there to help do. We want to create young readers. We know that early literacy is key to a child's success in school. And if we do these programs at the library, we're going to help the Caddo Parish School District be more successful in training our young readers in whatever format that they like. And that includes computer literacy as well. We do programs for youth. Story times are a huge thing for us. We bring kids into the library and we excite them about reading. We want to help people connect to the online world. Do you realize that 46% of the people in Louisiana don't have internet connections at home? That's a statewide statistic. That's why we lost Cyber Command. But we want to help people connect to the online world, and they do that often through their public library. We want them to be able to visit a comfortable place, whether it's physical, whether they just want to come in and have a quiet place where they can be alone and think and do their work, or whether it's a place to connect, as we talked about last week or week before last when I was here. We need coffee shops. We need things that will bring people in. Do you remember our building across the street celebrates 100 years this year? It's been built and in place for 100 years. It has not been significantly remodeled since 1980. If you remember before the remodeling, when it was a post office and federal building, if you walk in the front door, which was right on Texas Street, and you turn to your left, you remember that there was a cafe there at one time? Most of y'all are too young to remember. Anybody my age on here? Anybody admit being my age on here?
25?
Yeah. So in any case, if you all remember that, there was a cafe in that building at one time. So the other way they can visit a comfortable place is a virtual visit when they come to our e-branch. We want to help people learn to read and write. We have a very large literacy program. So right now we graduate as many people, I think, from one of our branches as a bigger group here in town graduates in a whole year. That's my granddaughter, by the way. I had to stick her picture in there for literacy for childhood. In any case, the literacy program is huge. We're at 4 different branches. Family literacy is big as well. We want families to get into the literacy effort as well. So we're doing programs around that. And I think some of those are reflected in here, Mr. Lynn. And if any of you would like to share this with him, please feel free to pass it around before you return it. We want to help people succeed in school. That's why we have Homework Louisiana. They get a tutor once they get stuck. This shows how the process works. You get stuck, you get your tutor, you get your help, and then you get on with your life and your schooling. And hopefully graduate. We want to see our graduation rate increase in Caddo Parish. And here is the whole purpose of what we're trying to do downtown. Express creativity, create and share content, whether it's writing music, whether it's doing sculpture. We're cooperating with SHRAC on putting together some programs for education and support for these kids, writing a book, or painting a picture. That's content creation. And the way they do that in libraries, we're going to show you some examples here, are what they call maker spaces, where people come together to use, they have a love for digital technology and learning, and they come together, it's in a particular library setting, to learn how to turn their ideas into content to see whether or not that is their passion. And if they discover that passion, then to move on with their life. We're not there to provide them the full education, but if they discover their passion at the library, we can then refer them to some other educational group where they can continue that education and move on with that passionate role. A hack space also is known as a maker space, creative space, hack lab, hacker space, hack space, all of those things where people with common interests, often in computers, technology, science, digital or electronic art, but also many other realms, can meet, socialize, and or collaborate. And that's what we'd like to see. We need more computer labs. All of these things are necessary for the success of your public library. One of the questions, and I think probably we can, this is a much longer presentation. I really wanted you all to get some sleep tonight, so I thought this would prepare you for that. But in the light of the fact that we've already had a couple doze off, we can probably end it here. I'll take your questions. Mr. Lynn?
Mr. Lynn.
Thank you, and I want to thank you so much for coming today and going over everything that the library is doing. I guess my principal concern after listening to your presentation, that I may ask you to come back Thursday to give more, because what I wanted to know on was, before we pass to allow the the borrowing of the 5-point-something million for the $4.2 million in renovations to the $1.8 million building, you told me that the fourth floor of the library was going to be completely renovated and that you were going to have workspaces and the maker spaces and the hacker spaces and the computer labs, and that you were working with SHRAC and digital media to get all of that done. And so the reason why I wanted you to come today was to tell us how that was going to come to fruition, how we were going to get to see that liveliness in downtown to add the synergy to what we've already got with Cohabitat, with Robinson, with what everything that the DDA is doing, with Southern University, with hopefully the Attorney University downtown. However, the very first thing that you said today, and correct me if I'm wrong now, you already have board approval for everything with the new building for administration, but you said you didn't have a budget and you didn't have board approval to do any of this stuff.
Every procedure that we do, Mr. Lynn, has to be approved by the board before we undertake it. They've already approved the long-term plan. With this particular part of the long-term plan, content creation as being a very key part, one of the 8 top roles that they selected.
That was left out of, pardon me for not asking the question before, 3 weeks ago, if this was already approved by the board. And so where is your board and your budget in relation to doing this development downtown? And with the money that you're borrowing, if you anticipated all of this happening on the 4th floor, did you anticipate it in the amount of money that you're borrowing to spend some of it on the 4th floor to bring this?
No, sir, we did not. What we want to do is get everything out of the 4th floor, then have somebody come in and say, here's how you have to redesign your main library. This has to be redesigned to have this and this. It'll be the same kind of a, we'll have charrettes for the community. We'll ask SHRAC, we'll ask Downtown Development Authority, the Cohabitat, all these people to come together to define how the spaces should look when they're complete. You don't want to start on that and just say, we're going to give this without doing all of your investigation. The Planning Commission that wrote this policy did their investigation. They met with their representatives in the community. They're the ones who decided this is where it should go, and our board were wildly excited about this proposal when it came to them.
The proposal to put the maker space and the hacker space and the computer labs on the 4th floor, is that?
We did not talk specifically about the 4th floor, but we talked about putting them downtown because the Planning Commission identified that that's the one place everybody in town can reach because there are bus routes that bring everybody from around the town to downtown.
Could you remind me of what you told me you were going to do on the 4th floor of the library?
Computer labs, actually a studio, there'll be video, audio studio. All of those things are what I would plan for the 4th floor. The board will have to approve that before we actually do it.
And so none of this is actually going to happen until the board approves it?
Our budget next year won't happen until the board approves it, Mr. Lynn.
And where do you see that it's going to go? I mean, how is your board feel with this? I mean, so you were telling me stuff that was going to happen when in reality it may or may not happen.
Depending on our board, yes, sir.
That's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Williams, thank you for coming. I'm not trying to be Sherlock Holmes. I'm just going to try to be a commissioner.
Yes, sir.
You said that
Mr. Holmes,
the building has been remodeled since 1980.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's time for some changes. Because we live in a global economy now, and the only way our children can compete, they have to be ready. My concern, one of my questions is about local contractors and minority contractors and this type of new investment into Caddo Parish. I'm concerned about our local contractors benefiting from the tax dollars they've been paying to hold us all afloat, the city and the parish, when other cities and parishes and counties are hurting. We're doing pretty good now because the local team, the local people have not left us, uprooted and left. So I would like to ensure that the local contractors who have stayed here and kept us afloat get first priority on having the opportunity to construct some of these projects and hopefully have a fair bidding process. Whereas some of the local minority contractors, especially our women-owned businesses and our African-American-owned business, let me be more specific, because now we have a great diversity in Caddo Parish with the Latino, Asian American, but also I feel that our African-Americans who are not being inclusive on a lot of the big contracts that are done by government. And some people say government don't create jobs. I happen to disagree with those that think that, because if it wasn't, why do all the people being on the contract and want to do business with the government that are vendors that don't look like me? But anyway, be it as much as it is, we need to ensure that our local contractors, the people that pay the taxes here, have an opportunity to benefit from the tax dollars they make. And I want to make sure if you don't have a fair share or a economic inclusion initiative or a program that benefit minority, specifically African Americans, companies and firms, I hope that you would have some the next time you see me and we can talk about it.
Mr. Williams, we are, by the original agreement that established the library as a joint effort of the city and parish, the parish owns our properties and the city acts as our fiscal and our legal agent. We have to submit every contract, everything that we do through the city, which includes a fair share program. So the city is our fiscal agent. We would not place any contract that would not actually stick to city standards. So.
Yeah, but what are you doing now? We don't have to wait on the city to do their thing. What are you doing as the director to ensure that Caddo Parish is being inclusive and making sure that our local contractors and our minority contractors are getting their fair share of the projects in Caddo Parish? Because we want things to be done proactive and not reactive. We want people to do things by choice and not by force. So we hope that you would develop a plan, a due process where some of our local people, especially people, minority, African Americans, could benefit. Because here again, I want to let you know that, and we all know that, the people that stay here to keep us afloat should have the opportunity to benefit. Local people, local contractors, local engineers have opportunity to benefit. And also, the minority contractors need to benefit as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Escalade?
I'll take it to it.
I'll only just kind of interject on what Commissioner said. William said, it's kind of the same comments I had on the study that the MPC wants to do. I think there's a consensus among us, and I realize you want a cost effectiveness for the taxpayer, bang for the buck, and responsible use of money. But the more work that can be done locally, the money stays here and it doesn't circulate to Mississippi and Alabama and Texas and everywhere else. And I just think that it's our preference, and within the framework of being responsible, I'm confident that you'll do that. I just want to personally thank you for your presentation. Thank you for the work you do. I personally feel we're very lucky to have you. You're a visionary. The library is doing well. I appreciate the work you do and your commitment here to this community. And I hope you have continued success, and anything that I can personally do to support you, let me know.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Ms. Lynch.
Dr. Heason, how are you?
How are you?
I'm doing good. Oh, Lord. I had 2 calls today. The people told me not to get in any trouble today, and I don't know if I'm going to make it. Let me say, Bill Withers sings a song that says, the same love that'll make you laugh or make you cry. Okay, so take all the praises you can get today, because sometimes that changes. Okay. Also, I think, and I guess this is the second time we're talking about using local and using African Americans and minorities in terms of procurement and contracting. But certainly I think that we have enough within our own house to be concerned about in this building that I'm not even, I understand you all are into the city and the parish, but I think we have enough to worry about in our own house without really worrying about what you're doing at the library. So let me just say that. But I think that you're doing a good, in fact, I know you're doing a good job. I've served on the library board for 5 years, and we've come a long, long, long way from where we were when I came on the board, I think in 2000. I mean, what I'm seeing is what I was seeing when I would go to the ALA conferences, in major cities. They're doing major things with their libraries. And I'm seeing just even, the materials that you all are putting out, things that I see when I go to the different libraries that are in the system. It's just, it's like a 360, 180 or whatever from where it was a decade ago. And I think, a large part of that has occurred under your leadership. And so my thanks to you and to, of course, Cindy and Bandana and all of the other folks that work with you to help make that happen. So thank you.
All the credit goes to my staff, Commissioner. Thank you.
I have no other speak, Mr. Epperson.
Dr. Easy?
Yes, sir.
Don't forget to look at that area from the parking lot, passing the flagpole at the West Shreveport branch. That little area I've been telling
Yes, sir.
you all about. We'll get together on it.
Look forward to talking to you on the 29th, sir.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Easton, for coming. I appreciate it. Mr. Thibodeau, the next item we have for you is I'd like to introduce to the board Ms. Catherine B. Parish, and she is from the Ag Center, and she's replacing Mr. Don Labasa, who left recently.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to speak before you this afternoon. I just wanted to kind of let you know of some of the changes that have been happening in our Extension office in Caddo Parish. As Mr. Wilson said, that Mr. Johnny Lavasser retired from the LSU Ag Center after 22 years of service. He is transferred to an oil and gas company in Oklahoma. And also Miss Connie Ackland, who's been with the Ag Center for 42 years. We finally let her retire. And so she's be leaving us. She left us the end of July. And also Miss Diane Glasgow, who was doing parenting classes. She is also retiring. And so those are three of the big changes. We are in the middle right now of advertising Mr. Lavasser's position. And that person will be committed to working with the farmers and then the livestock program with the 4-H youth development. We also are looking into hiring a 4-H program assistant that would assist with the 4-H program in the parish. So left in our office right now is myself and Lola Boone. We're responsible for the 4-H program. Miss Glenda Brown, who is doing the Parents Preparing for Success, and then Elizabeth Jordan is our secretary. Right now we're busy enrolling new 4-H clubs. Last year we had 40 clubs throughout the parish, and so we're working with principals now and enrolling those and getting ready for our parish and the state fair in the fall. I wanted to go ahead and get on your calendars our famous Christmas luncheon. If you haven't joined us before for that, it's some wonderful food. You can probably talk to your colleagues about the food. It's going to be on December 12th at the Caddo Extension Service office on East 70th. We'll come and do a formal presentation and invite you to that, but I wanted everyone to have that on their calendars. Does anybody have any questions?
That was the main one.
That's what I knew. I knew it.
Chairman, I just...
Where are cookies?
Cookies. I have to bring the kids for the cookies.
Oh, okay.
I'll bring them.
I got Mr. Epperson up first.
I passed, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I've got Mr. Dominic.
One question, you said John is gone?
Yeah.
Say that again?
Lavasser?
Yes,
He's
Mr.
there?
Lavasser.
When did he leave? Just recently?
Yeah, July 1st was his last day.
Okay. So those positions that y'all, they're being advertised, so y'all...
They were advertised and they closed about a week ago, and we have some applicants, and so we're going to interview them at the end of the month, and so we'll hopefully have someone hired in mid-September.
Well, good luck.
Thank you. We'll come and introduce them to y'all
Please do.
when they get on board.
Ms. Lynch?
Oh, I was just asking about the cookies.
Mr. Williams? Priorities.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are you from the local area here?
Uh-huh. I've been here 11 years.
How long you been with the 4-H system?
11 years.
11 years. What was your current position before now?
Well, I was always the 4-H Youth Development Program Coordinator, but I recently got the Parish Chairman job, which is just added responsibilities in charge of the office.
No money, just added responsibility.
Right.
Well, I want to commend you on your promotion, and we look for great things from you to continue what has already happened. And
Thank you.
Good luck. I look forward to eating the cookies.
We usually have our 4-H youth come and do a presentation, so we'll do that soon.
I was a 4-H. I didn't learn them, but I was 4-H.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, just want to make you aware that on August 30th, we'll have our staff budget retreat to get the process started. So we'll be huddling up over at the Structural Business Center talking about the priorities for the forthcoming next year. Our next topic is dealing with West Nile virus. We had a lot of concerns in the community. There's also an emergency meeting tomorrow. Office of Homeland Security will be conducting a meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock in their office talking about West Nile virus. So I thought it would be a good idea to have Mr. Harris come forward at this time and give you an update on what we're trying to do to be proactive to address this virus issue within our community. All right. So, Mr. Harris, would you? Mr. Kine.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Welcome back.
We started our spray season in mosquito control in March, and it normally runs until November, just depending on the weather. We recently were notified by the Department of Health and Hospitals that we had 9 total cases of West Nile, with 6 of those cases being neuroinvasive. The seriousness of it, meaning that could be encephalitis or meningitis. We had 2 cases of fever, and then 1 asymptomatic, meaning somebody just went into the hospital, showed no signs, did some blood work, and basically found out that they had West Nile in their bloodstream. We're currently spraying right now 7 days a week right now with our mosquito control personnel, 8 trucks out with 8 applicants spraying the parish. It takes us about 4 to 6 weeks to spray, and we're partnering right now with Barksdale Air Force Base. I spoke with the public health operations officer, Mrs. Captain Kelly Franklin, and then also Mr. Gary Mackey, the base environmental planner, and Mr. David Sanders, the civil engineer at Barksdale. We're looking at trying to look at aerial applications of that with the airplane support. So if we can get that done, it would help us. We've identified 70,000 acres that are in our populated area that will help us be able to attack it if we are able to do that. In doing so, we've identified that it will be 9 30-gallon drums of Demeron, which would cover those 70,000 acres at a total cost of $45,000. So that would be our contingency plan in case that happened. When you look at what's going on in Dallas, Texas, it's a little bit more serious. The United States has had a total of 26 deaths, with 14 of them being in the Texas area and 6 in Louisiana. So we have 20 of the deaths that's out of the total United States of 26 between 2 states. So that I think that we may need to be a little bit more proactive in our approach in looking at handling that, and that's why we went out to try to work with Barksdale Air Force Base to do that. Dallas decided to go with private industry to fly their planes to do that, and we're looking at Barksdale because it's very expensive when you start trying to charter planes to put spray applications out there to the public.
Everett, I had talked to you last week about the problem, and I suggested that you get with the levee board and all the other agencies that have anything to do with all the ditches.
Yes, sir.
Because I know you have to have permission to go there, but unless we get in a lot of those drainage ditch areas, you know, those are great places for mosquitoes. And, and a lot of those backed up to neighborhoods.
And that's why we looked at the aerial applications, because that will allow us to reach those areas and impact them that we cannot reach by truck, because we can't access people's yards and their back areas without putting the parish at a liability, causing some damage trying to spray in somebody's backyard and some things that we may not be aware of in their
Are there
yards.
any problems with the levee board and the other agencies who have any jurisdiction over the ditches as far as being able to?
No, sir, they've been very user-friendly in allowing us to be able to get to areas where we can try to spray in those areas, and we also have off-mounted applications that we can do it with backpacks that we can go in and we can spray in those areas.
Because if they can know them, we ought to be able to get in there and spray them.
Yes, sir.
Got that, Ms. Lynch?
I think that's all.
All right. Mr. Cox?
Has the area businesses in Shreveport and Caddo Parish been notified, or do you have an outlet to notify them of what they can and cannot do? Because you've got businesses that let water stand.
Yes, sir. We're going to be trying in this same process, we're going to be trying to educate the public about turning over standing water wherever they see and cleaning out gutters and stuff like that that can house water and cause potential problems, where it be breeding sites for mosquitoes that we can't larvicide in. So we will be educating on that same process. But we're still in the planning stages of this. We don't know exactly if we're going to be able to get the airplanes in the air if it gets that serious. But we have an outbreak like Dallas has had with 336 cases. We've had, Louisiana as a whole has had 52 cases, with Caddo having 9 and Bossier with 7. So if we see our numbers increase, then we may have to go into more of a aggressive mode to do that, sir.
Okay. In our cases that were here in Caddo, is there a certain area that they were in, or
Yes, sir.
were
I
they
have
spread
those
out?
addresses, and I can provide that to you
Was it
right
north,
now.
south, east, or west? Or just
All over, sir.
all over?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's not
We've had 31 positive pools tested. We're constantly testing, but I have the addresses and I can submit them to you. We can't say for sure that the people that were that tested positive didn't go to Dallas or go somewhere else and get it. We can tell you where they live, and that's where the the CDC tracks it, is where the person lives. So we can't say for sure where they got it at.
Okay, thank you.
Did you give everyone a copy of that, please?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Lynn?
Thank you for compiling that information, and thank you for your aggressiveness in taking care of this. If DEET causes damage to your body, the damage is done right here, because I have to work outside quite a bit. I want to thank you for your department on a slightly separate matter. On Friday night, your men were called out to a home for an issue, and they were above and beyond and did a great job, and I immediately got a phone call from the resident, and they were so grateful that you were able to squeeze them in, and they promised to adapt their schedule to where they would be a Monday through Friday issue rather than a Friday night. But thank you so much for your efforts, and thank you for keeping the constituents happy. Thank you. That's all, Mr. President.
Mr. Williams?
Also, I want to commend you as well. As the colleague has said, you're doing a fantastic job. I'm very proud of you. However, in the Cherokee Park area, Stone Hill area, the levees of water there, and our kids are back in school now. And several months ago, we started a cleanup initiative, which we haven't got there yet because we're waiting on an Attorney General opinion. And I wanted to be proactive in addressing that issue because there's a lot of water up there, and a lot of insects, and particularly there may be some West Nile potentials. Hopefully you can flood that area in the Stone Hill area and the Cherokee Park area, and allow the citizens get with the neighborhood association and get with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Wells over in that area.
We have definitely been working with them, sir, larviciding over there, because we've gotten calls from them, and our personnel have been over there. We've been working with property standards, Mrs. Dorothy Fennell, trying to see how we can combat that and be a little bit proactive in that, but we've definitely been over there spraying heavily in that area, as well as the schools after closing, because of the EPA doesn't allow us to do that during the day, so we do it at night. So we're very active in that area, sir.
You said something about a backpack where you can get back there in those
Yes, sir. We
backyards?
have, you can carry it on your back, and you can spray. It's a hose that allow you to spray out in those areas where it's hard to reach by vehicle.
But really in that Cherokee Park area, I can see a lot of manpower focus. There's that Cherokee Park Elementary School. And
We'll hold you down pretty good, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Mr. Dominic?
I heard, there was an announcement on Kill. They were talking to somebody today with our department that was just, saying, use deed and pour out the water and things like that. Maybe we need to do a little press release.
Yeah, we're looking at, I spoke to Mr. Wilson about that. We're going to be looking at putting some information in Shreveport Times on the website and trying to get information out to the public to better educate them on this.
Contact the Caddo Citizen and the Sun,
Yes,
because, they'll be, I'm sure, glad to publish something too. And I would just reiterate kind of things I said the other day that Commissioner Williams focused on, that kids back in school, so we need to be sure and make a concerted effort to hit around the schools, the football fields.
Yes, sir.
We need to start playing, my kids have started playing fall baseball, so the baseball fields up there in Vivian, and the football fields, we need to be sure and get those the best we can, the practice fields, so please make a concerted effort to get on those.
Will do, sir.
And horses and cows.
Mr. Johnson?
I want to also say you're doing a good job. I do want to echo what Commissioner Dominic said. We do need to put something out for the public, for public awareness, to try to help assist what you're doing. I think that you do have a good plan, but like I said, the public awareness, if that part doesn't go well, then your planning process will be hampered a little bit, because they won't be dumping the water like they should, or having standing water and know that water is standing somewhere. So, I mean, I think we need to look at all the media outlets, PSAs on radio, television as well, because as they spraying those mosquitoes in Dallas area, the ones that do live are going to go somewhere else.
Yes, sir.
Depending on which way the jet stream is going, that's where they're going to go.
Yes,
so, just as a heads up, you're doing a good job. Thanks.
Mr. Cox?
Not to beat a dead horse, but I see the Shreveport Times is here, and since you're not our official journal, I would appreciate you doing a story on this. Thank you.
Mr. Thibodeau, I just want to let the other commission body board know that the last time we dealt with this issue was back in 2005, and we spent about $50,000 in aerial spraying in 2005 when it first came up. So we kind of anticipate the same type of investment. Hopefully the Air Force would help us and assist us in getting our areas, well, their area sprayed, so they wouldn't go from one side of the road to the other side.
Yeah, we've discussed that too, sir, to see exactly what the cost sharing would be between Bossier Parish and their surrounding areas, because Barksdale's going to basically spray the entire area, just what would be the cost breakdown. We've looked at 70 acres, 70,000 acres, so we understand what we would be responsible for. It will last 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the weather, sir.
All right, Ms. Lynch?
Still singing my Bill Withers song. Same love that'll make you laugh and make you cry. Thank you.
One last comment while we're about to cry again. Ms. Harris put together a pretty good summary dealing with West Nile virus.
Okay.
So I'll make sure you all get a copy of this. In case your constituents ask you a question, you'll be prepared to answer that. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Harris, I just have one question. Is it correct that only the female mosquito bites?
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you. I just want to clear that up.
Okay.
All right, so you get the West Nile virus from
Only the female mosquito bites. The male mosquito bites.
Watch out.
So it's pretty much like real life. Okay, any communiques?
I just have some I need the administration to look into.
Well, I've got Mr. Lynn down first. Go ahead.
I want to thank the Sheriff's Department, my good friend, Mr. James Johnson, who helps me in my yard, had his mower stolen and his blower stolen, and when the criminals are out doing stuff like stealing tools out of the back of trucks at Lowe's and Home Depot and stealing lawn mowers and blowers and edgers from people that are willing to work in this heat, and the Sheriff's Department catches them, they get a big pat on the back from me, because they retrieved a lot of yard work material and equipment, and people are able to go back to work and didn't have to go spend a whole bunch of money to buy their same equipment twice to keep their business. Anyway, thank you.
I know where you can buy that.
Mr. Cox?
I bet you do.
cold. That's cold. Go out?
No.
I'd asked Mr. Grubb, and he's already left, or he's out of the chamber for a second. I plan on being at the city council meeting next week to get with the ordinances that we passed for the synthetic drugs. So anyone who would like to accompany me there, do their work session on Monday, I will be there. Going to ask the drug task force agency, along with their attorney and our attorney, to be with us at that meeting. And so, come one, come all.
All right. Mr. Williams. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to ask the administration, on my recent trip to Pittsburgh, and I happened to be in on the Justice and Public Safety Steering Committee, and I was asking about a particular program called Project Safe House, where it has a program where young people that are being vulnerable, being molested, or being bullied, or being scared because of something going on at home, or just plain old being abused at the house. And they have nowhere to run and nowhere to tell nobody what's going on in their home. They don't even feel safe. I know they have a program for the women's shelter when they are being abused. They have the fire stations. But there are several of these programs all over America where our young people that are being bullied, being molested, being abused, or just being vulnerable, don't have nowhere to turn to. As we saw the other day, a particular individual molested several children because the children didn't have nowhere to turn to, because sometimes when they try to tell their parents at home, they're part of the problem. So it had to be so where the kids can be, some intervention can go on, where they have a safe house. They use police substations, they use fire stations, they use some businesses in America. I would ask that this administration explore the opportunity where we can partner with some of the police substations and maybe some of the fire stations in the rural area, or whoever want to participate to protect our children, our most vulnerable citizens in our community, our children. There are predators every day preying on our babies. They're bullies. They've been very vulnerable. They've been preyed upon. They've been singled out through the social media and personally, even at school. So they have to feel safe, because when I was a little bitty fella and people always bullied me, but I fought back. I had courage to fight, but we don't want to encourage fighting. We want to do things decent and in order. They should all have a safe place where they can have a 1-800 number and call for help. So hopefully we can coordinate with the schools, with the Caddo Parish schools, juvenile justices and the judges, maybe the Chicago Sheriff Office, and some of the fire stations that are in the city and the parish. Invite the city councils of the districts, some of the school board representatives, and let's try to plan for a meeting in the near future and see can we come up with a model to fit what we're doing here in Caddo, because I'm sick and tired of watching the TV and watching people that should be watching our children. We should be watching them. And we need to put an end to some of the stuff that's going on with our children. This molestation must stop, the child abuse, the neglect, the children are being homeless and left on the street, and people having all these children but not willing to take care of them. That is wrong. That is wrong in America. All this harm and all this abuse must stop. And we need to really look into it and see can we find some common, a safe haven for our children. It's a national model. It's already been proven, documented, and demonstrated. And let's see how we can incorporate that here and see how we can have a win-win and protect our children. Thank you.
Ms. Lynch?
Yes, I want to ask the administration for our next meeting in a couple of weeks to have a representative here from the Registrar of Voters Office and the Clerk's Office to discuss voter ID and just what the process is going to be in Caddo Parish. Thank you.
Any old business?
One more, I want to echo what she said. When we're asking maybe do we go before the Board of Election to ask, can we have voting on Sundays. Do we have to report the vote, the board of the election on, should we get permission to have voting on Sundays, be extended to Sundays?
State law.
Mr. Attorney?
I don't know.
State law.
Won't you investigate that? There are other states that have voting on Sunday.
Well, now, you're talking about the regular election dates. They're all set forth in a
He's
statute.
saying early voting. He's talking about early voting.
Can they vote, we're trying
On
to
Sunday.
explore, can they vote on Sunday after church?
Okay,
Is it early voting?
On Sundays.
I got it. I'll let you know.
There's no advantage of Republican or Democrat because they go to church too. Independent job sometime. Good joke.
Okay.
But anyway, could you explore and see, could we approach the Board of Elections?
We'll have Mr. Robinson here
Okay.
the next work session, and
Okay.
he's got to quickly answer that question. Then we have to try to find the answer.
Who's gonna pay for it?
Hey, Mr. Clerk.
There is no old business. We move to new business, sir.
All right. I come here to work. I don't care what y'all think about me. Got somewhere to do, go home.
All right. Authorized introduction of ordinance number 5228 of 2012, amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Economic Development Fund in the amount of $50,000 for the Metropolitan Planning Commission.
So moved, sir.
The Unified Development Code.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Williams, second by Ms. Baker, to move to Thursday. Cast your vote, please. And that passes 10-0.
Authorized introduction of ordinance number 5229 of 2012, deemed property surplus and authorized transfer of surplus property owned by Caddo Parish to Doug's Paint and Body Shop.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Dominic, second by Ms. Baker. Mr. Johnson?
Can we get some clarification of what this is about?
Yeah.
Doug's Paint and Body.
Come on, man.
I know, Doug.
What I know about this, Commissioner Johnson, is that this vehicle was totaled. According to our insurance company, the vehicle was totaled in an accident. The actual value, according to our insurance agent, is what's set forth in the fact sheet that goes to the ordinance. I think it's about $1,400. And we have accrued about that much in storage fees for the vehicle at Doug's. In fact, the storage fees by now would have accrued to be something in excess of the appraised value. So what this ordinance would do is simply authorize the transfer of the total vehicle to Doug's in return for a waiver of the accrued storage fees.
Okay.
Jessica?
Okay, so this is not a donation of property, of public property, basically it's a way to pay a debt.
We're actually going to...
We're bartering.
We're going to be canceling a
That's
debt
correct.
that's worth more than the
Fine.
property.
Thank you.
Ms. Lynch?
Yes. My question is, the accident happened in February, okay? And can you all let me know what happened between February and June as to why the vehicle stayed in storage so long?
That, Commissioner, I cannot answer, but I can, well, Mr.
It's James' old vehicle, right?
Yeah, the information that I gave you before the meeting, I mean, it was just tied up with our insurance company.
Okay, now, we're self-insured. The
Uh,
other party was at
Enough
fault.
accidents like this.
I mean, we got to check. We got a check from State Farm.
Right.
Because we weren't at fault. We were not at
Right.
fault.
Right.
So we're waiting on them to settle the case. So it would just,
So you're saying it took them 4 months?
I mean, we just
On a
got,
total loss?
we just got the check like a month ago.
Yeah, I'm looking at the check date, June 17th, but the accident happened February the 24th. So there was something happening in that 4-month period. When I got my insurance adjuster hat on today,
I mean, nothing that I'm aware of.
it usually doesn't take that long to determine whether a vehicle is a total loss.
Right.
And so it's 4 months went by. Then, so can somebody, y'all let me know what happened between February and June?
All right, I'll give you a detailed synopsis of what happened.
Thank you. Because it's actually costing us money. That's money we could have got back. Thank you.
Mr. Cox.
I was just going to say, couldn't the insurance company pay those storage charges for us? So we don't have to, I mean, it's a total loss, I can understand that.
It's a total loss. They did pay a certain portion. They paid like $800. The actual bill was actually more than that.
Okay.
In that, there were some total and administration fees, so they did pay $800 of that.
Okay.
Question? No.
Mr. Escalade.
If it was a total loss, then we don't own the vehicle anymore, do we?
There was, I guess, there was a...
Doesn't it belong to State Farm?
Yeah, but there was a deal that when we signed off, I guess there was something about a salvage value left on it, so that's really, that there's just...
We decided, we elected to retain the
Okay, we still hold title to the trash.
That's correct.
Okay,
And so,
all right.
instead of trying to take it to the auction, we owe a bill, and we just, that's the deal we worked out. And they're not charging us any more storage fees from the date, from like a month or 2 months ago.
Cast your vote, please.
I just need to find out what the
Witness State Farm, I guess. Yeah. That's it. We were at fault.
9-0, passes.
Authorizing introduction of ordinance number 5230 of 2012, declaring certain adjudicated properties to be surplus.
So moved.
Second.
Move on chair, second by Ms. Baker. Okay. Cast your vote, please. 9-0, passes.
Authorize approval of proposed amendments to the Caddo Parish Policy and Procedures Manual.
Move for Thursday.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Escalade, second by Mr. Cox. Mr. Epperson.
Yes, sir. In 5, policy 304, tuition assistance program, inform employees that other travel and training expenses will be considered and may cause a reduction in tuition reimbursement. Are we talking about travel, training in conjunction with education at a particular institution where they are seeking tuition reform using the program? I mean, how does that correlate? Erica? What about Erica?
Yes, Commissioner, what it is that the budget for travel is all included with the educational expenses, meaning that if you go to a conference, and this is just for the employees, if you go to a conference or something to that nature, the departments have can, in some instances, decide that when you're in school, we may not pay for your tuition as well as for you to go to conferences. It's not mandatory, it's just something that can be considered when you're setting your overall budget. I mean, if you're having to pay a few $1,000s for someone to go to school and then also paying for them to go to conferences. So it's just allowing the departments to be able to decide, be able to offset, say, if you're in school, you may not attend these conferences. But if it's something that's necessary or required, they still can go.
Tuition assistance program, the way that I've seen it administered, it's basically a benefit, and it's a good deal in enhancing and retaining and recruiting employees. And in my opinion, I don't think that should be tied to your travel to your conferences. I think that's a good program. I think it should be standalone.
Well, right now, it's all in one budget. So
it's all in...
Currently, all those monies are in one budget. So
right, I understand that, but I'm just saying that I would hope that if an employee wanted to attend school to get an education under the tuition assistance program, and they meet that criteria, that should be separate in itself from any other training and education, or as it relates to the normal conference that we go to, that's in relation to the job that we perform. I don't agree with that, and I won't be supporting that. Implement change to health care reimbursement accounts, whereas over-the-counter medication is no longer covered under the plan.
That's according to the federal government. That's not our...
According to the federal government?
Yes, they no longer cover over-the-counter medicine in the cafeteria plan. So we're just removing it from the policy because it's been disallowed by the federal government.
Okay, all right, because sometimes you go to the doctor and you get through with copay, and you can almost get, it costs you $200 to go there, and you can pick up a bottle of Advil or a generic Zyrtec or something like that.
Yes, so the trend.
So that's a federal mandate.
That's a federal. The trend is going to decrease in the amount you can claim on the cafeteria. It's also starting for 2013. The maximum amount you'll be able to have is $2,500. So it seems that because the cafeteria plan, you deduct that before you calculate taxes, it just seems that the federal government limiting that more and more because of the tax benefit that you may get from that. But yes, that is required by the federal government.
Is that in relations to the ACA?
No, I'm not aware.
Okay. 506, information technology acceptable use. What do we have here?
That policy, sir, is just because of we have more extensive use now of smartphones and iPads, and so we're having to put policies in place to govern the employees and how they use the items that are owned by the parish. And a lot of that coincides with the same requirements we have on the computers that are in the office.
Okay. That's in relation to what, personal use, something of that nature?
Yes, sir, personal use and what you're putting on the items that should be authorized by the parish. And that's the same thing for the computers that are in the offices. They can't put upload or download or put software on your computers that's not authorized by the parish. It's not saying that you can't do it, it's just saying that we just need to know what's going on these items.
Okay. Thank you.
Cox, with yesterday. Go back to Mr. Jefferson's question on number 5, 3042 issuing assistance. I'm not talking about people that are in ongoing continuing education, but for travel, conferences, special seminars and all. Doesn't the department head approve that travel anyway?
Yes, sir.
That's correct. Well, okay, I don't necessarily feel the same way Mr. Jefferson does about it, but it seems like that takes care of itself, that this wording probably not necessary.
Yeah, the only reason we included the wording is because sometimes when you've had situations where you have employees that say that's not in the policy, that's not written in the policy, but because of budgetary, I mean, if you have someone that's in school, if a conference is costing you got one budget, if a conference costs you $3,000, school is costing you $3,000, you could just have that $3,000 expense. It's not something that's widespread, but on occasion, a department head may elect to forego a particular conference this year that they don't deem necessary because that person is in school.
Well, that's solely up to the department head to decide
Which
of his employees need the training. I'm sure they're not going to deny them the training in the event you've got somebody valuable, but at the same time, it eliminates some abuse of the system, and as provided in the policy, if the employee doesn't like it and has got the nerve, I guess, he can appeal to the administrator.
Right. Currently, it can happen now the way you're correcting that. We're just adding.
You're just trying to take all the questions out of it.
We're just trying to add it in the language in the policy, but yes, right now.
I just wanted to make sure that all that travel was approved by the department heads anyway.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Williams. Well, I agree with most of it said, but we don't want to get into cherry picking, because we do know there are favoritism in everything you do in certain departments. And certain people may want to go to a course or provide some education. He may not, or she may not be able to go because of the department head may not like it. That does happen in the real world, in the scheme of things. So I think we give too much leverage to the department head to pick and choose who should not go, who should go, which I think is unfair. I think it's unfair if anybody that want to continue education and improve the quality of education here, they should be not denied, because they do have favoritism in everything you do, and people do have times where they abuse their power and they cherry pick favoritism and nepotism and isidism because of whoever they may not like. So, well, I'll be watching this closely and see who goes and who applies and who do not go. I'll be watching it very
Yeah,
carefully.
Michael.
Trust me.
Makes me feel like the private's ordering the generals in the battle.
That's all I've got to have your department. It happened to me, that's why I'm saying.
I can see this, but when, if an employee went to a conference, a seminar, some training that could be a credit toward a college degree or something, when they could, I could see that. You know what I mean? As far as maybe taking from tuition, but my point is, I look at tuition, the tuition assistance program is basically an individual that's going to an educational institution where he or she can acquire a degree or some form of formal training to enhance their educational and academic capabilities in the future of the job. So that being my reason.
Mr. Lynch.
Yeah, I have a question. Is it addressed in our personnel policies when we post a job internally versus externally?
It's not that specific as far as internally and externally.
Is it?
It just says that all employees, I believe it just says that all current employees have the opportunity to apply for jobs. So whether you have an internal or external, and current employee can apply for the job.
Thank you.
All right. Next.
Yeah, vote.
Yeah, cast your vote, I forgot. Been so long on this.
Now we can do it Thursday.
No, what I'm doing is I'm having,
You just
thinking that school board will be stay here till 8:30 doing nothing. All right.
Just like that.
That's okay.
All right, what's that, 9, 8?
10-0.
You know, so we got some people, we don't even have 10 here. Okay. Because people leave. All right,
Authorized resolution recognition for Ms. Gail Griffin, Shrewd Memorial Library Board of Control.
Chair. Second.
Moved by Mr. Williams, second by Mr. Escaday. Cast your vote, please. And that's passed 10-0.
Commission needs to convene into an executive session.
All right, I have a motion here for it. Move to go into executive session to discuss the cases of John Creighton Webb Jr. and all versus Frank's Investments LLC and all, number 530-547-C, First Judicial Court, Caddo, Parish, Louisiana, and Eric W. Allen versus Chesapeake, Louisiana, LP, number 526-657-C, First Judicial District Court, Caddo, Parish. Those authorized to attend the executive session are, in addition to all commissioners, are Charles Grubb, Parish Attorney, Donna Frazier, Assistant Parish Attorney, John Frazier, Legal Counsel to the Parish, Woody Wilson, Parish Administrator, Robert Glass, Director of Public Works, and Todd Hopkins, Clerk of the Commission, and Randy Lucky.
Somebody, can we suspend the rule? We got to come.
Let me finish. We recommend that the meeting be held in a conference room rather than clearing for the chambers. If for no other reason,
We have to come back in here.
we'll have to come back here to finish up.
Come back into session.
Second, okay.
As long as you know we got to come back.
Need to vote before
We do have to come back, yeah. Vote, please.
I'll be involved.
We're not meeting tomorrow.
Commissioner Cox, yours didn't pick up.
All right. That passes 9-1.
We'll go to this one.
I'm giving y'all a break.